We're a community because we all are sort of directed towards something other than ourselves or outside of ourselves or the greater good. And I think Milwaukee is just big enough where one person could make an impact.
We moved to Cedarburg in 1967. We still think of Milwaukee as a place we belong to.
We think that our interests lie in the health of that larger community. A realistic view of the community has to include not just its most comfortable people, but the ones who are in need.
Well, I think the thing that, for me, that is most important is having a sense in the community that we have a shared value around things. Not to say that there aren't differences, there will always be. But when different people in the community sort of feel a common bond, it allows you to really tackle the problems.
Of course, we live in the community of Milwaukee. We have our own little community here in Whitefish Bay, but we're all part of Milwaukee. There's a community of the United States of America, of states, and there's a community of the world. And that's embodied now, to me, in the United Nations community. I was in Europe when World War II started. People forget so easily. They forget the horrors of what has happened, and this is why we want to keep the United Nations alive.
The program of UNSIL, United Nations Schools for International Learning, began 2 years ago, and I think there were 1,200 students.
The high school have model UNs, as you probably all know, but it is not required. It's a club, extracurricular club activity. And so we felt that if we could have it incorporated in the curriculum of the lower grades, and if we get in children's minds that there are ways other than war to solve problems of the world, this is the best we can possibly do.
To face challenges, you can't soft pedal it. You gotta really be willing to stand up sometime and say, here's something that we need to fix. Which is why I'm so passionate about the MKE Fellows, because the notion of seeing young people who others say, are not likely to achieve, knock it out of the park, graduate from college, come back to our community, do good things, not just for themselves and their family, but for others. That really is, for me, the sustaining value.
I grew up biracial at a time when very few people were biracial, being Asian and white. And I'm also a lesbian, so it's kind of like I have to negotiate that world. It kind of carries over to like the charitable giving. It's like I'm not just one thing. So it's sort of like I can't concentrate on just one thing because I see so many different things that need to be addressed. Small actions can have really big changes, like kind of ripple out. So it's like if I volunteer and I help somebody else, then they can help somebody else, and then that person can help somebody else. It's that paying it forward kind of idea. I think the Boys and Girls Club is a perfect example of that. Making a donation to the Boys and Girls Club, all of a sudden it's like I'm in a space where I sort of helped pay for this, and I can actually see that the kids use the space.
We're in Pathfinders today. I did not have any idea that Pathfinders would provide a place just simple and cozy enough so that people could come in and do their laundry.
It's humbling to tour a place like this and see the dedication of the people who keep it running. And it's inspiring to see the level of support that they get from the community, including the Greater Milwaukee Foundation. The foundation seems to be right at the top of the mountain, looking out at the community and seeing what the needs are, and responsibly and competently expressing those needs to people who have advised funds and their own agendas.
Because like my donation may not be on the level of like Bill Gates, right? It's not like $1 billion or whatever. But if the Greater Milwaukee Foundation has like 10 people who are interested in this, and they know that they have 10 donors who are interested in this program, it's sort of like pooling the money together and then helping fund a particular program that wouldn't, like one person couldn't fund by themselves. The people that at GMF, they just know so much about Milwaukee, so they can say, oh, there's a program at this nonprofit, and I think it'd be right up your alley. And it would be like, I would never hear about it if it wasn't for the Greater Milwaukee Foundation.
My notion is that whether it's a large project or a small project, you approach it exactly the same. So whether I'm working on doing something for elderly people on 26th and Fond du Lac to make their lives better with the Senior Citizen Center, or working on a big downtown development project, it's the same. What you're really trying to do is provide your talents in a way that moves the needle forward. And you got to remember that you really don't know who you're helping when you're doing it. And that's been my experience in life. A lot of people help me, and so I think in part, you know, you have an obligation to help others.
I've always been very fortunate and advantaged. I've lived a good life. I will never give up hope. And I always feel a mission to do something. And I think a curiosity and a hope for better things for all people, more justice for all people. And I know there are good enough people in this world who are working to try to make that happen.